Welcome back to the Maturity Project. I'm your host, Chad Everett Broshears, and today we're going to be continuing the conversation for physical maturity, one of the 8 areas of maturity. And we're going to continue into the Fit in Over 40 series. And inside of that, this is the 7 questions of readiness. Now, you can apply these 7 questions of readiness no matter what your age is. There's just preparation to make sure that you understand, just like a space shuttle prior to taking off. They go through the pre-check to make sure that everything about that particular, all systems go, right? Airplanes do it for the pre-check, and after they're done boarding, they do the pre-checks. They make sure that the plane is ready. Actually, I'm not sure the timelines they do it, but anyway, they do a pre-check before they take off. So, same concept with this. Let's make sure your body is in the most ideal position, and if not, then how do you develop or curtail the workout in such a way that you are reducing your likelihood of injury and still staying on track? I will say that it does not matter what your actual full ultimate goal is with exercise. You can still add in the corrective, the stretching. You can do digestive exercises, energy exercises, lymphatic exercises. There's all kinds of things that you can still do when you're in suboptimal performance levels. And you can gauge that based off of the 7 questions of readiness. Now, this is not the first video on this. Now, I've already covered food, water, and pain of the 7 questions of readiness. The 4 that are left is sleep, stress, intensity, and energy. Today I'm going to talk about sleep. And the goal of this is to teach you or to give you some holistic perspectives on how these things actually work and how they work together, and to give you an idea about how to start qualifying, how to question this for yourself. If you're a fitness professional, then, how do you ask your client these questions? I can get through these questions in about 20 seconds with my clients once they're trained into it. And I've got a fantastic perspective of what they need for the workout so that I reduce the likelihood of an injury and increase the potential for performance and results for the workout. So I don't really get a lot of clients with that stubborn body fat or the resistance for growth because of the way that I approached exercise programs. This is not what the Maturity Project is about as a whole, by the way. I want to make sure I take a moment to state that. The Maturity Project is about 8 different areas of maturity. I'm talking about a subset that's inside of the maturity of physical body. That's health and your longevity of the body, functions, ease of movement, overall well-being of the body. So that's in the physical maturity. There's a lot there, right? Like, what does it take to be healthy? What can you do to condition your body in every direction? Golf and bodybuilding, you don't do the same conditioning protocols, because either one of them switch to the other will ruin their aspirations for being the best, because it's completely divergent of what they need to do. Now, so I've already done food. That one was pretty in-depth as far as the different variations inside of us as individuals in the human species. We've gone over water and an actual deeper understanding of water. Pain, from its discomfort to pain, and exactly what does that mean, and how we have the ideas that no pain, no gain. Well, I can tell you right now, that's not a very good motto to live your life by, especially in the exercise and performance areas, simply because I worked in a physical therapy office for 3.5 years. I will tell you this. As a corrective exercise specialist, so it was, after they were done with physical therapy, they could work with us. Pain is a very common cause of injury, and it's typically check engine light, tell you something's wrong. And you probably should listen to it. Otherwise, hey, there'll be somebody waiting to help, I'm sure, if you're fortunate enough to get that opportunity. So let's get into sleep. First off, you can sleep for 12 hours, and not go through the recovery cycles properly. Sleep as a function in the body is restoration. And it goes through physical and psychological. Well, they call it psych. It's the gray matter repair. So you have the physical body repair, and then you get the gray matter repair. Now, I know a lot of people that they try to bend the rules to fit their desires, and they feel that they can bend the rules of physiology. And you're just not. You're not. I mean, hell, I've had people, after I've taught them pretty much the ultimate cardio program that I teach, and it's incredible what it can do. I've had people try to negotiate with me to try to change the program to meet their needs, or their desires, actually, not their needs, but their desires. And it doesn't work that way. I can't contact your physiology. I can't get in touch with your body in a way to say, hey, by the way, let's change a few things and turn some dials to, make these concessions. I don't want to do 20 minutes of cardio. I want to do 10, or I want to change the intensity factors, or whatever it is. I'm like, do it as it's designed and you'll see the results. It's a pretty simple version of it. Anyway, all right. I've spent a lot of time in the physical and personal training and from the holistic perspective. So anyway, all right, let's get to it. Let's get on sleep here. You're not going to beg, borrow, or steal with this. Circadian rhythm is really, it's based off of 10 p.m. and that goes till 6 a.m. Optimal timelines. It's an 8-hour window. If you go to bed at 11 a.m., 10 p.m. and 6 a.m., if you go to bed at, let's say, 11 p.m., you have cut into 1 hour of your physical repair timelines. Doing this occasionally, it's very unlikely you're going to notice the results of it, other than going, I'm a little tired, let me get some caffeine, or, do something to make my body feel energized enough to be awake. But if you cut in, on either side, you'll have a sacrifice that comes with it. You won't work at peak function. Now, if you're like, well, Chad, I get 4 hours of sleep a night and I work completely fine, then I'm in peak function. If you got 8 hours, it'd be pretty impressed. It'd be very, very likely you'd be pretty impressed by the results that you'd have and how well you function at that point. So, circadian rhythm. Circadian rhythm is the pattern of the day, right? It's the rhythmatic function of how we function throughout the day. That's your wake-sleep cycles. Now, there's some pretty interesting stuff with this, but I won't tangent off any further. It's like, why is it when you go to the beach, when you come back, or after you sit around the pool or whatever, and you get a lot of sun exposure, you're tired? Well, that has to do with melatonin, my friends. Melatonin is a sleep hormone, but it's also a recovery and healing hormone. So, yeah, there's a reason for it. So, and your skin has just dealt with the sun, and it wants to heal itself. But anyway, I won't go any further into that. There's actually a pretty long, or pretty in-depth conversation about sunglasses and going to the beach and all that fun stuff. So, all right. So with the sleep factors of it, melatonin's at least a bridge to that. For sleep, you will do best to be in bed by 10 p.m. and up by 6 a.m. if your work schedule allows for that, and whatever the living circumstances you have, family and stuff like that. But if you have the choices, it's best to try to hit that window of time. The other is you have to figure out the quality of your sleep. If your sleep quality is low, your repair sequences will be low. Now, I'm not saying necessarily like your watch says that if you wear that, or you have some other device that gives you some sort of rating when it comes to how you sleep, they can have some value and validity to them. But ultimately, how do you feel? Do you feel refreshed and rejuvenated? When the alarm goes off, are you up before it and ready for the day? Of course, I'm going to do a video on sleep, and then I yawn. God. Watch me fail forward, people. Failing forward. God bless it. All right. Well, let's not mess around with it. Okay, so it is 10 p.m. to 2 a.m., the 4 hours there. That is your physical repair timeline. It's when your HGH, human growth hormone, is the highest. And the complementary values for recovery, including digestion, is taking place predominantly, actually, throughout the timeline, 8 hours for digestion, but you're going to get more of the dominance of that in the first 4 hours. The second half, so that is 2 a.m. to 6 a.m., those hours are designated for the psych repair time. So that's your memory filing. That is your, basically it's kind of like defragging a computer. That's pretty much what's taking place at that point in time. So if you miss sleep, it causes you a lot of challenges. Your immune system's dependent on it, your body's recovery overall. But you see, what I'm assessing when I go through all of these things, by the way, there's not a test at the end of this for anybody. This is just to give you some insights to understand, when you're dealing with a real professional in this world, they should be looking at these things. Not just how you feeling today. A vague question, that's not a very effective approach. Now, you might get some important data out of that, but if you don't have the right pointed directional kind of conversations or questions, you can pretty much, you're just subject to whatever you're being asked, and or you're subject to whatever questions you're asking to the answers, and it can be undesirably detrimental to the client. Again, after my time in physical therapy, working there as a corrective exercise specialist, we constantly looked at causation of injury and prevention. So causation, prevention, and performance. What can we do with what your body's currently limited by? It doesn't mean indefinite limitations. Some of the injuries, and a lot of the injuries we worked with, those individuals, again, post-physical therapy, those individuals were not confined to their injury. They just wanted to do what they can to prevent them from happening again and continue the corrective path. And then we came up with exercises and programs for those things specifically, but we also addressed the holistic perspective of it. It was not just, hey, I'm going to work you out and we're going to listen to your body. It's more of, hey, we have to take an approach similar to this. We looked at it from a very dynamic approach perspective. So, all right. So sleep, incredibly beneficial, incredibly. If you're dealing with weight loss or building muscle issues, you're not progressing in the direction of your goals, you can look at your sleep as part of the issue. You can say, hey, maybe I'm not getting the adequate amount of sleep. If your sleep is challenged, well, how many unresolved issues do you have? How many conversations have you not completed with other people? What is it that you are avoiding doing? There's a lot that goes into that sits heavy on the mind. That's the psychological side and the emotional side of it. But what about the devices that you play with prior to going to bed? There's the receptors in your eye that tell your hormonal system if it's daytime or not. That does not mean it completely turns you into it shifts you into your morning routine where your testosterone and cortisol levels are the highest. It's not that. It is, okay, well, perhaps it boosts up your cortisol enough to be the equivalent of, a cup of coffee. Well, now you got to deal with the cortisol's lifespan in your system. And how long is it going to take before the melatonin is greater than cortisol so that you could get tired and go to sleep? So if you're sitting with your computer, your laptop, or whatever, and you don't have the right kind of lighting set up with it, you probably want to avoid it. And I typically tell people it depends on how it's affecting them, but it might be 4 p.m., it might be 6, it might be 7, depending on their bedtime and how it affects them, the feedback and the recovery basis. But it could be a good rule of thumb, just say, none of these devices, from 6 p.m. until you go to bed. TVs, same thing. If you're really close to a television, something like that, the lighting coming out of it could also cause you to think it's daytime. Not you thinking cognitively, but your nervous system responding as if it's daytime because of the nerves in your eyes actually picking up the light. So, coffee, caffeine, myself, any types of caffeine. I will not consume caffeine after 3 p.m. It's my cutoff time. So I can drink however much my allowance is. Jesus. Wow. I'm going to talk about sleep and I keep yawning. Good Lord. What a interesting reaction to a subject here. Anyway, so yeah, caffeine I stop at 3 p.m. because it by around 7 or 8, depending on my total quantity, that's whenever the melatonin will have a real good opportunity to start settling in, so that I can make sure that I'm ready to sleep. And it's not like you just get a big old influx of melatonin either. It starts to increase in your system so that you can go into your rest and recovery. By the way, also, here's another interesting fact, is that melatonin is also a digestion hormone. So it's not like take melatonin, you digest better, but you digest better when you're sleeping, because your body does not need to send the blood to like massive amounts or prioritize your musculoskeletal system because it's dormant. It can prioritize digestion, healing, and that response. If you're interested, by the way, in the autonomic nervous system, which is the automatic nervous system, you don't need to do anything to make it work necessarily. You can indirectly affect it, but you can't directly affect it. Is parasympathetic versus sympathetic. Sympathetic is fight or flight. Freeze could be an overwhelming thing where it just freezes you up, but it's still in the fight or flight category. Now, could be that. Cortisol, caffeine, things like that. By the way, caffeine affects cortisol levels. Yeah, you could get all fired up because you got a lot of cortisol. Melatonin is going to be on the parasympathetic side, which the parasympathetic is rest recovery. So that's also rest recovery and digestion. You will digest during the day, by the way. You're just going to have optimal digestion at night because you're going to have more blood prioritized towards your digestive tract. You can create the conditions in your waking hours when you eat to increase your absorption also of the nutrients that you've consumed through digestion by prioritizing that. And things you can do for that: meditation, corrective stretching, the correct type of breathing techniques, things like that. So another little tidbit that I will give you is your nerves, right? So you have different types of nerves in your body. You have the you'll have the peripheral nerves, and you have other nerves. Sorry for drawing a blank on this. But you have the dominance between the sympathetic nerves that trigger sympathetic reaction, and you have the nerves that trigger parasympathetic reaction. The highest concentration of parasympathetic nerves in your entire body is in your nose. You activate that through breathing. So as far as yogis and monks and all those that teach breathing disciplines, there's a very logical and very wise reason for that. If you breathe properly, if you breathe erratically, where you're like, you're not going to trigger the rest and recovery response. You're overstimulating the parasympathetic nerves, which is the nerve endings is the hairs, the hair follicles in your nose. So what that does is it's telling your body that you are in a rest and recovery state, or you're in a survival state. Sympathetic system is designed for the survival state. Parasympathetic system is for the recovery state. So if a tiger jumps out at you and is starting to run, you're going to have the sympathetic response. You're going to fight, flight, or freeze. You're going to do one of those. I really hope you don't freeze, and fighting a tiger I wouldn't advise it. But anyway, but the parasympathetic response. So when you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, through slightly pursed lips. The slightly pursed lips is to slow the response and the breathing, so you don't, you're purposely not going to breathe to puff up your cheeks. You're going to breathe to, oxygenate the body and calm it. So when you breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth in a rhythmic and calm manner, you will increase the parasympathetic stimulation in your nostrils, and that will increase your potential recovery. So the calming of the system, so that you can reprioritize the direction of your blood flow, so that you can give that to digestion and repair. So there's a lot when it comes to this. The same thing goes to when you eat your food, things like that. How much water do you drink prior to eating, and then how long before you eat after you drink water, and there's actually quite a bit with that. But if you're interested in it, please check out the videos at the end of this on YouTube. I will have some of the other videos that I did for the 7 questions of readiness in that, which will have water, and it will mention some of those things in it as well. All right, share this video with a person in your life that you want to make a meaningful conversation with. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. If you took something out of this that really made a difference for you, comment in the comment section. I want to hear from you. This is a process, right? It is not the easiest thing in the world to talk to a camera. When I'm talking about fitness, it's a lot easier than some of my other subjects because it's just one that I've talked about a lot. Today, a little off, but that's all right. We're working on it. So, we got a lot to do, and there's a lot of things that we can do to change our lives. Most of us, you just don't have somebody to hold the lantern so you can see in the darkness of change. So, I'm here to do the best that I can to try to help make a positive impact and a desirable change for people's lives. So, if you like that, comment in the comment section as well. So, Chad, I appreciate that about you, and keep up the good work. If you're interested in the program designed specifically for you through the holistic education that you can run yourself, or at least you can do that with, not having to have a whole lot, or you could get coaching as well, send me an email at yourmaturityproject@gmail.com. That's YOUR, maturityproject@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to start the conversation and figure out what we can do together. Nutrition, exercise, all those fun things, as well as teach you a holistic view of your body and how to better work with that when it comes to your fitness needs and your health needs, really. So the physical maturity needs. Now, I'm the host, Chad Everett Brochures. This is the Maturity Project. Please keep in mind, the path to hell is paved with good intentions. We do not need to wreck our bodies to try to keep up with some sort of idea that is not quite right now. You just don't necessarily have the right information, or perhaps it's something that's a false concept. Anyway, not to go too far into that, because I feel like that would actually extend this video by a good 15 minutes. So, interested in more of that, send me an email as well. Put a comment in the comment section. Chad, elaborate a little bit more on whatever. And look forward to us on the next video. So remember, we grow through what we go through. Yesterday's mistakes become tomorrow's promises. So, promise for change. All right, let's get up to something. Let's get up to it together. See ya.